In the headlines, airport regulation for taxi and bus drivers to be implemented as Dominica seeks to follow international standards. A former head of the Dominica State Prison welcomes the idea of a sex offenders registry, and DAT wants government to implement recommendations to improve the status of its members. I am Kenny Williams with the Channel 5 News. Details when we return. First up, as the country takes steps to adhere to international standards at its ports, enforcement of airport regulation for bus and taxi drivers become necessary. Idona John Baptist explains.
As of July 20, the Port Authority will clamp down on taxi operators and bus drivers without the required license who insist on doing business at the airport. Chief Executive Officer of the Air and Seaport Authority, Benoit Badwell, reasons that the airport regulation has been around for several decades. Actually, it remained part of the country's revised laws of 1992, and violators have been charged in the past. So the justification for the enforcement, it's all about meeting international standards, according to Badwell.
We've had meetings with the Taxi Association. We've been hearing the complaints from our own officers in terms of the increased activity of illegal operations at the airport in terms of the taxi operations. So what we are seeking to do, we're rehabilitating the airport, as you know, and we're trying at the same time to put the regulations, make sure that the regulations are enforced. And we've given notice to the Hotel and Tourism Association, the various taxi associations. We have even provided notice to Ross University because there is an arrangement for permits to be granted to the Ross University taxi drivers to operate, especially during the times when students are moving. I mean, people are even picking up rentals and taking rentals to come to transport people to and from the airport as a business.
According to the airport regulations, the airport is a restricted area. Those wishing to do the airport run for hire should apply to DASPA.
And your application will be vetted in terms of your police, your character certificate and other things, and we'll make a determination as to whether you can be authorized to operate at the airport with a permit or not. We have the Tourism Standards Act as well, which makes special provisions in relation to how people must operate. So you will see the taxi drivers operating at the airport have to meet with certain conditions. They have stickers on their windscreen. They have to make sure that those stickers they are authorized to operate at the airport. We have two levels of permits that we give. One permit which the taxi drivers operate and you're on a roster. And then the other, if you're doing drop-off and pick-up, we can give you a permit to do that. And you pay the necessary fees for that. But you have to meet with the provisions of what the requirements for the conditions to establish that.
On the issue of drivers of private vehicles being allowed to pick up or drop off people, Badwell says when enforced, the rule will order that all private vehicles not go beyond the point of the car park.
The law does not prevent persons from picking up their families and friends and well-wishers and what have you. You come to the airport, there is a car park, you go to the car park, and you park your vehicle. You then go to pick up your people when they arrive and then take them to the car park to get their personal effects and so on. And they're on their way home. That's why the taxi operators who are on the roster are next to the exit facility so that it can make it very smooth for persons who wish to pick up a taxi can do so.
In related news, efforts at increasing passenger flights at Canefield Airport continue on the heels of recommendations from a Caribbean aviation conference. This was one of the recommendations made to improve air access into the country. Port authorities agree with experts who visited Canefield Airport that the facility can be used to boost commercial activity, especially for the convenience of business people. CEO of the Air and Seaport Authority says they are taking a hard look at the pointers coming from the conference.
You have seen recently that Winair is making daily stops to Canefield in relation to doing Antigua, Dominica, you can get all the way through to St. Martin via Canefield on a daily basis. We are seeking to look to see how we can improve the quality of service at Canefield. Obviously, this is equipment. The type of aircrafts that can go there. We have twin otters. those can go there very easily. But we do have some smaller type version aircrafts that we want to make sure that when it comes to the issue of safety and all that, we take care of that. But we're trying to see how we can encourage more new business into Canefield.
The length of the airport's runway would have to be factored in the size of aircraft it can accommodate. Canefield has 4,200 feet of runway. Tourism Director Colin Piper acknowledges that the rules of the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority would have to be met, and he said it's not just simply allowing aircraft to come in.
It's just a matter of the policy that the government of Dominica wishes to take. Obviously, initially, the majority of their focus was on Douglas Charles in terms of the rehabilitation, the renovations, everything that was happening. The fact that most of the regional airlines were moving to bigger aircraft that would not work at Canefield. So it stood to reason why Douglas Charles was getting the focus. Some things are changing now, and post-Erica, the fact that Canefield was heavily utilized and that aircraft that could land in Canefield was more readily available. So these are things that are shedding new and different light on the situation. And that's why I say DASPA needs to put their proposals, their recommendations together and bring that up not only through their board and through their ministry to the government, for the government to determine what the policy needs to be now.
In other lead stories now, a retired law enforcement official is supporting the establishment of a sex offenders registry. Algernon Charter, a past superintendent of the state prison, told Channel 5 News public education across the board is necessary if there are plans to create a sex offenders registry.
It's debatable. If it is, I hope if there is, and I'll be glad there is one, but if people are going to use it to get back at people, then I think you shouldn't. Well, then we will have people within check. We would people will know that people are watching them and know about them, and therefore they will refrain from committing the acts.
On to education now. Dominican teachers have been called upon to take advantage of opportunities available to them to develop their teaching skills in order to deliver quality education in a changing global environment.
The call came from the Minister for Education when he addressed the opening ceremony of the annual Teachers Summer Workshop on Monday.
We live in a rapidly changing society with constant technological breakthroughs. The world that our children face is full of opportunities for innovation, advancement, and transformation. How can we therefore further improve our education system to keep up with the changing times and prepare our children for success?
Mr. Seja says the ministry continues to initiate in-service programs on a regular basis to expose teachers to new strategies for effective teaching and learning.
The government of Dominica has also invested significant sums of money to qualify our teachers at the diploma, undergraduate, and graduate levels. In fact, most recently under the Dominica Education Enhancement Project, 47 teachers were trained as Caribbean Vocational Qualification CVQ verifiers and or assessors. We had 25 senior education practitioners who are currently studying for a master's degree in education leadership at the University of the West Indies.
Seja pledged the ministry's support to the DAT's efforts to update the skills and knowledge of local teachers. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
You are watching Channel 5 News. Still to come, a lecture on the death penalty forms part of Law Week. That and more coming up. Thanks for staying with us. President of the Dominica Association of Teachers has once again called on government to implement recommendations made by consultants to improve the status of those in the teaching community.
Last month, DAT President Celia Nicholas told the media that negotiations with the government were at a standstill due to the lack of implementation of recommendations coming from a consultancy commissioned by government. 2 years ago, government commissioned the CARICAD and KPMG to do an assessment of the job evaluation and classification review. Speaking at the start of the summer workshop for teachers, Nicholas once more called for the implementation of these recommendations.
The growth and the wealth of any country, they are linked to the level of education of its individual. And where do the level of education comes from? From, as the minister rightly said, from the dedicated teachers who are here. So we are really hoping that even before we start negotiations this year, that those recommendations are paid attention to. Because if we do pay attention to those recommendations, there'll be no need of talking about percentage increase, because those recommendations are going to take the salaries where they are supposed to be. And year after year, it will just be an incremental matter that we are doing. If we can't implement them wholesale, at least we can do it piece by piece.
Nicholas also reiterated the importance of having qualified teachers appointed in an effort to retain skilled teaching staff.
It means for the Ministry of Education, and it means also for the Chief Establishment Officer to look at the scheduling of salary for trained people. That's what it means. Because if individuals know that if they want to remain at the preschool level and teach with their qualifications and the commensurate remuneration is there, they shall remain. Mr. Minister, our trained teachers whom we have trained under the enhancement project, we are losing them because urgency is not being executed in their appointment.
The annual summer workshop to benefit Dominica's teachers is this year focusing on literacy, numeracy, visual and performing arts, special education, information technology, and classroom management. The workshop, which got underway on Monday, is a collaborative effort of the Dominica Association of Teachers, the Canadian Teachers Federation, and the Ministry of Education.
We have also included other courses for the next 2 weeks where our teachers will benefit from such courses as teacher professionalism, gender equity, and HIV and AIDS. All of those are areas that we experience in the classroom and within our work culture on a regular basis. And as a result, we see the need to continue to expose our teachers to the skills and the competencies required as they develop into a whole and committed teacher.
Leader of the team from the Canadian Teachers Federation says the workshop is a plus for Dominica and Canadian teachers.
We too, the Canadians, wouldn't be here if we weren't open to learning new things in education that we can bring back to our various provinces and territories. Teachers hold the key of igniting passions in others. Some students may be harder to reach and teach, but we still must try to ignite that spark of learning. We as teachers need to stand together and support each other. It is through unity that we become strong. Your DAT union works hard for you. Please support their work by being an active, engaged member. Together we are strong and we can meet the demands of the future. Together we can accomplish so much more than we can just as individuals.
The summer workshops are designed for teachers to improve their skills so that students also improve in their school performance regardless of their circumstances.
Despite the factors that face us that we have no control over, part of our workshop training is to ensure that you as a teacher, that you build your true teaching efficacy. That is, as a teacher, to be able to see yourself as that quality teacher that can find it within yourself, to be creative enough to find that method, to find that way to get that child to improve, whether it's incrementally or in several strides.
The DAT CTF MOE workshop is expected to run for 2 weeks. Society may be concerned about increasing murders and the fact that the penalty for murder on the law books is still death, but for a court to impose the death penalty is not as clear-cut. Here's more.
The Honorable Justice of Appeal Davidson Baptiste has put this issue in perspective in his lecture forming part of Law Week on the death penalty, the rarest of the rare and the worst of the worst. Making reference to Privy Council and Regional Court decisions, Justice Baptiste says the culpability of the accused must be assessed based on the particular circumstances. The sadistic murder of a child for sexual gratification, a terrorist causing multiple deaths, and the mercy killing of a loved one suffering from terrible pain will not all attract the same degree of punishment. Section 2 of the Offences Against a Person Act, which is considered mandatory, is incompatible with Section 5 of the Constitution of Dominica. It states that any person who is convicted of murder shall suffer the penalty of death. But that position no longer obtains because Section 5 of the Constitution provides against a person being subjected to inhumane or degrading punishment.
The mandatory death sentence is regarded as inhuman or degrading punishment or treatment in terms of Section 5. Therefore, Section 2 of the Offences Against the Person Act, to the extent that it required the infliction of the death penalty in all cases of murder, was inconsistent with Section 5 of the Constitution and therefore void.
Friday's lecture was the third annual Justice Telford George's Memorial Lecture. The annual Lawfare or Pro Bono Day was held on Saturday, and a panel discussion on the relevance of integrity in public office legislation in small democracies is scheduled for Tuesday. Law Week 2016 ends with a cocktail and dance on Friday.
That's news. Coming up next, your sports highlights. First up in sports, Acting Minister for Sports Honorable Kelva Daru has given concrete details on plans for upgrading the Massac Sporting Facility. The minister was addressing the 24th staging of the Sports Division's Schools Award ceremony at the Dominica State College on the weekend. Daru says government's interest in sports is reflected in its pledge of significant funds to build an indoor sporting facility soon.
We also had earmarked $5 million for an indoor sporting facility. And then after the passing of Erica, we had to redivert these funds to allow for greater priority. But the government remains committed towards the indoor sporting facility, and we will pursue this facility to ensure that our young men and women can have a facility to play even when it rains and pours. But in the meantime, the government in this financial year which is coming, we will ensure that we cover the facility at Massac to facilitate indoor games so that our young men and women can continue to play their volleyball, their netball, their basketball, even when it is raining outside. And this is costing the government in excess of over $500,000.
Meantime, schools and individuals were awarded for outstanding performances in table tennis, football, basketball, netball, cricket, volleyball, and athletics. Still in sports, 21 women will get a chance to improve their football coaching skills thanks to a 5-day coaching course organized by the Dominica Football Association. The course came about as a result of a women's consultant survey conducted about 2 years ago. Meantime, DFA boss Glenn Etienne says the DFA is committed to supporting women's football development in Dominica.
The DFA has shown a very great interest in women's football and its development. This interest has been manifested in the resources that has been expended on women's football through the staging of leagues and participation in regional and international competitions. FIFA has mandated that all member associations spend 50% of the FAC on women's football and its development. In other words, every year, the DFA is mandated to spend US $37,500 on women's football development. Over the years, the DFA has surpassed that figure, and only last year, the DFA spent well over $350,000 on women's football. The just concluded Windward Island Football Tournament cost the DFA well over EC $100,000. By all standards, this is a very significant investment in women's football. We have looked at this investment as a good one because we know that women's football is on the rise, and we will do all in our powers to provide opportunities for women.
Following the training course, the DFA will appoint a full-time women's coordinator who will work to help develop football in Dominica. FIFA instructor Andrea Rodeba heads the coaching course, which runs from July 11 to 17. We move now to track and field, where despite recording a great performance in the men's 200 meters on the weekend, Mitchell Davis fell short of qualifying for the 2016 Olympic Games. Davis finished third in a time of 20.8 seconds, missing the qualifying time by 0.3 of a second, which is 20.5 seconds. This means that athletes who will represent Dominica at the Olympic Games are Yordanis Garcia and Tia Lafont, both in the triple jump event. Serving you some volleyball highlights, Dominica secured third place in the ECVA Under-23 Championship on the weekend. Dominica defeated St. Martin to capture bronze, leading the game 3-1. Next up, the Ivor Stevenson Football League had its opening ceremony on Sunday with various teams participating. The league had its opening address by its parliamentary representative, Honorable Ivor Stevenson.
I want to say that football is getting bigger in the Southeast, and not only is it big here in River Zurich, I know that in time to come, we will see bigger things happening in Lapland, where we are developing the Lapland playing field and also the Granford playing field that has been commissioned just about 2 months back. So football is growing, and it is growing because of the interest that you, the football players, have placed in football in the Southeast. And even furthermore, because of the support that all the persons from the various communities, from Lapland, from River Zurich, from Granford, have continued to ensure that we have positive things in the Southeast.
Meantime, Young G-Maid captured the 2016 Bollarama title when they beat Ivor Young Boys on home turf 2-0 on Sunday. And on the cricket scene, the match between West Indies Presidents 11 and the Indians ended in a draw on the weekend. Indians took first knock and posted 258 for 6 declared. Half centuries came from Rohit Sharma, 54 not out, Shikhar Dhawan, 51, and Lokesh Rahul, 50. Jamel Warrican took 2 for 61. West Indies replied with 281 for 7. Shai Hope scored 180 not out. Rajendra Chandrika, 69, and Jamel Warrican, 50 not out. Meantime, Trinbago Knight Riders won by 7 wickets over Guyana Amazon Warriors in the 11th game of the 2016 Caribbean Premier League. Riders batted first and scored 151 for 4. Hashim Amla top scored with 64. Dwayne Bravo added 25 and Danish Ramdin 9 not out. Warriors in their turn at the crease ended on 144 for 9. Martin Guptill scored 50. That's all the sports for now. I am Kenny Williams. Join us again next time. We now join Marshall Alexander for your weather report.
Good evening, Dominica, and welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. I'm your presenter, Marshall Alexander. We begin by taking a look at earlier infrared satellite imagery, what it showed. A few low-level cloud patches which moved across the area today due to the presence of a weak trough located to the northeast of the islands. These low-level cloud patches resulted in generally cloudy skies across Dominica during today. Now, taking a look at earlier radar imagery and what it indicated. The associated scattered showers across the area during today. Tonight's weather is expected to be mostly cloudy, hazy, and occasionally breezy with a few brief scattered showers. And tomorrow's weather is expected to be mostly cloudy and occasionally breezy with some scattered showers. Sea conditions are expected to be moderate in open water with waves peaking near 8 feet. Small craft operators and sea beavers, particularly on the eastern coast, are advised to exercise caution. Conditions for the next 3 days. An increasing cloudiness with some scattered showers can be expected tomorrow. However, by Wednesday and Thursday, partly cloudy skies with a few scattered showers can be expected. For the rest of the Caribbean tomorrow, a weak trough will continue to result in an increasing cloudiness with some scattered showers across most of the islands during tomorrow. Our international cities forecast. Partly cloudy skies can be expected in New York. Some thunderstorm activity expected in Miami and Caracas. Some rain expected in London and clear skies expected in Beijing with temperatures up to 36 degrees Celsius. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:42 a.m. and sunset will be at 6:40 p.m. Please remember that we are in the hurricane season. For more information, you can call the weather hotline at 447-5555 or visit our website at weather.gov.dm. Thanks for viewing. Have a good night.
To end the news, the headlines again. Airport regulation for taxi and bus drivers to be implemented as Dominica seeks to follow international standards. A former head of the Dominica State Prison welcomes the idea of a sex offenders registry, and DAT wants government to implement recommendations to improve the status of its members. Feel free to contact us at news@mon11thJuly2k16News.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Kenny Williams. To our viewers around the world, thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.